Hi, I'm Sheriff Everett Susker, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of One to One. This is the show where we talk about what's important to you. We like to highlight some of the great things that go on in our community and some of the more serious things that go on as well. Today I have a special guest, Miss Krystal Gonzalez. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you for having me.
Good,
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here. You have a story to tell about your daughter, Aaliyah. Can you please share it with us?
Absolutely.
All right.
Aaliyah is my second child. She's my first daughter. Aaliyah was just phenomenal. I say this all the time. She was very respectful, very mature, very responsible. Aaliyah graduated high school in 2023, June of 2023, with the hopes to start college later on that summer. Aaliyah was 18 years old. July 2nd of 2023, she attended a block party in Brooklyn, Maryland.
Okay.
On that day, there was a mass shooting and 30 people were shot that day. 2 people passed away, Aaliyah being one of them.
Oh, okay.
Out of the hundreds of people who attended this block party, I lost my baby that night.
Yeah. I tell you what, I have 2 daughters of my own, and if I don't know how I would be able to handle that. So I know you relied on the strength of your husband. He's here in the audience. You relied on the strength of your husband, but how did you get through that moment?
Well, it's the most horrific thing. So what most people don't know is that my husband and I were at the scene that night, standing over our baby under a sheet, the most hopeless and helpless we've ever been. And I say this all the time, it's the most horrific thing that any parent could ever experience. And I never want that for another parent. And all I remember being there as I desperately tried to get to her, police officers were grabbing me and saying, "Ma'am, you don't want to see her like this."
Right.
And they don't know. Because in my head, I was thinking, you know, I know what they say, I know what I see, but she's not dead. She's waiting for me to come get her because I fix everything for her. And she don't know you. You know, she don't want you to touch her. That's what I see. And I also see myself and my husband standing on the side just wailing in so much pain and looking at this as a reality. That's our baby. I see her foot. I know that's her. She would have called me a long time ago.
Right. And your daughter, she was doing well. She's working to go to college.
Yeah.
And she's just a random bullet. I mean, I know it was intended to hurt people, but she was not the target.
No, she was not the target.
Okay.
And knowing that has helped me so much. I tell you, I'm very big on the importance of words, right? So it's very hard for me to say my daughter was murdered because to me that is an intentional target, that is an intentional act. I can say homicide. I can say my daughter was shot and killed, but murder is a word that carries a lot of weight, that doesn't really describe what happened. And I understand why people use those terms interchangeably, but when you asked how we were able to get through it, that was one of the things that helped me get through it, was to identify what happened. And knowing her injury, another thing that helped me get through it was being so strong in my faith and knowing that God took her quickly and that Aaliyah didn't suffer and that she likely did not know what happened. That was a big one for me, to get through this, to know that she was in her body 1 minute and out of it the next, and she didn't even know what happened that quickly.
Right. Well, as you are, I have faith also, and I truly believe that what awaits us after this life is something better. And I feel as though your daughter is in a better place. And
she's safe.
She's happy with what you guys are doing, what you and your husband are doing to carry on her name. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what you've been doing since then?
Yes, and it really started that day, that night on the scene. And, I asked God, you got to show me what this is for. A lot of people say don't question God, but he expects you to question him when you don't know what the purpose is. It's one thing to know that you are a part of the plan, but you are not the plan. So for all that happened, you got to show me what her being dead is for. You've got to show me this because I've been walking upright. I've been serving you my entire life. You got to show me what this is for. And that planted that seed that I now have to find that purpose in this pain. And so from then on, I've been on a quest. And every day God was revealing to me, you know, I talk about there being 30 people shot that day. 30 people, 30. Hundreds of people attended. I am still the only person that talks about the injustices that happened that day in Brooklyn because of the one thing that I will tell you, the conditioning of the community, that this is a way of life. This is the way it has been for decades. This is the way it's always going to be. And I'm sorry, this is not a way of life. Your 14-year-old child should not be paralyzed with bullet fragments in their body. You should not be walking around here with bullets flying through the air. We have got to do so much better for our community, for each other.
You know, one of the things I always say is that it depends on where you live. People become conditioned, like you say, to the circumstances. But that's not how it is.
That's not how it is.
And I think for us in law enforcement and the community as a whole, we need to do more. Because we always look at the symptoms, you know, the person who died and stuff like that. But we got to look at the root cause. What is causing people to say, hey, I'm going to pick up a gun to settle this problem? You know, and I think we've lost our way when we forget about that.
Right, absolutely. And I say this to everybody, Aaliyah's death was the effect of a decades-long cause that has been overlooked for decades. And then we have this huge problem that arises. You know, an area like Brooklyn, and we talk about this because I've gotten some, you know, legislation passed with the Enough Act. When you look at a city like Brooklyn and you see how underfunded and underserved it is, but right up the street, you know, I live 15 minutes away from Brooklyn. Very big difference, vast difference. And this is what I mean, like these things cannot be overlooked. You know, when you think about our law enforcement going into the community and building relationships with the residents, also having the residents feel safe enough to speak with police officers, right? So we have to form that bridge or communication to allow us to live cohesively. Absolutely.
So I know you have been very busy. You've been out in the community doing things, but you have Aaliyah Day. Tell me about Aaliyah Day.
Wow, Aaliyah Day. So July 2nd, 2023 is when Aaliyah passed. And the entire year was just so awful. I mean, every first, they say the first year, all the first, you know, happens in the first year are the worst. So I did not want to repeat that going into the year, quote unquote, anniversary. I don't celebrate a death date. I can celebrate her ascension, right? But to me, even when I think about our new year, we don't necessarily, I can transform anything. You know, my new year doesn't reset on a January 1st. It resets on a July 2nd because that is when my life completely changed, right? And so going into July 2nd of 2024, I changed the meaning of the day and we used it as a celebration of life festival. And so we brought the community together in unity and love, and we show people that you can come out to the park and have fun and not have to worry about losing your life. And so we had the basketball tournaments, we had the DJs, the band came out, we had food trucks, we had the fire trucks out there. It was such a great, beautiful response from the community, so warm and welcoming. And we are making that an annual event. So this year will be coming back and a lot bigger because people are already talking about Aaliyah Day.
Well, I'll tell you what, as the sheriff's office, we'd love to participate in that.
I'd love to have you guys in our basketball tournament. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, I'll come and watch, but I cannot play. Those days are gone, but I definitely will come and watch. So,
wonderful. We would love to have you all there. We're inviting the entire community to come out to Sawmill Creek Park is where we'll have it.
Okay, okay, we'll be there. We'll definitely be there.
Great.
Now tell us something about your book. You created a book, you wrote a book.
So I recently released a book. I was hosting, I have a nonprofit organization and I deal with a lot of grieving parents. And I was hosting a class for your breakthrough year.
Okay.
You know, just trying to move people past the needle of despair and sorrow after losing your child. What are you going to do? Because so many people have been watching my movement
Right.
and drawn to me. And so I hosted that class and decided to transcribe it, and I turned it into a book. And so the book is called The Survivor Power Playbook.
Okay.
And because that's what we use. We go through the storm. You have no control over the storm. But what you gain from the storm, that strength, that's yours to keep.
Okay.
And I call it your survivor power. What are you going to do with this trial and this crisis that has come along to use it as a catalyst for change?
Okay.
How are you going to use your survivor power?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
So you also have a nonprofit.
Yes. Our nonprofit organization is Redirecting Our Culture. I was very intentional about the name Redirecting Our Culture because we have got to bring our communities back into a sense of respect, pride, and dignity.
Right.
Because when you respect yourself and you have pride in your community and you're keeping the grounds and you walk with dignity, the
Right.
one thing that you're not doing is going out and shooting people.
There you go.
So with Redirecting Our Culture, we have programs in place now where we have a survivor response team to go out and service newly impacted families who've been affected by gun
great.
violence. We have a program for our fathers because a lot of times our men are missed in their grief. And so we created a space for our fathers to get together, and that is called our Fathers Forever group. I host several healing hikes because we have to be active participants in our healing. And what I see with these hikes are nothing short of amazing.
Right.
Most people haven't been out in nature,
Right.
and just to know that it's just a couple miles away from your concrete jungle, and they get out there and they can be in tune with nature, with the sounds, the smells, the sights, and seeing these mothers who have been affected by losing their children find joy.
Yeah.
Our group is amazing and it's growing, and I'm so proud of the community that we're building through this, because we've got to take care of the survivors. Because one thing that we know is most offenders, they were also victims of violent crimes, whether directly or indirectly, and that trauma had not been dealt with. So when we take care of the survivors, that's how we begin to redirect our culture.
And you know what? I like the name, Redirecting Our
Yeah.
Culture.
Gotta pivot.
Because, yep, we have to pivot. And another thing that I truly like is that you're recognizing that fathers,
Oh yeah,
the men,
I got a soft spot for this guy.
She's pointing to her
20
husband.
years in the game.
20 years.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
But yeah, we have to remember that the fathers are suffering as well, because we always look at the father as the stone figure who needs
Yeah.
no comfort, no consulting or anything like that. But that's not the
true.
case.
It's not true. And then we find that we have a whole lot of mental health issues because they don't have an avenue for expression.
Right.
And again, this is how we begin to heal our communities, is that we take the mask off and we allow the healing to begin when we can be vulnerable and
Right.
express what's actually happening to you.
Right, right. Well, look, I want to personally thank you for coming to speak with us today, because, like I said, your story is compelling, but I've seen you a few times now,
Yeah.
and what I see is a person of courage, a person who's strong and not just shying away from this. You want other people to know what you went through.
Right.
Hopefully you can save some other lives. So I thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and I enjoy meeting your husband. And
He's always there in the background.
Yep.
He's always there.
and we shall talk again.
We will.
All
I'm
right.
looking forward to it.
All right,
Oh,
great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've been in law enforcement for quite some time, close to 30 years. And unfortunately, Mrs. Gonzalez's story about her daughter, Aaliyah, is not the first story like this I've heard. As a community, as a society, we have to stop looking so much at the symptoms of violence. We concentrate on guns. We concentrate on drugs, but we never look at the true root cause of stuff. If we want to move forward and start doing things to change the direction, change the course that we're on, we have to look at the root cause. We have to know why people are committing acts of violence. They have to be provided with other outlets, other opportunities. But at the same time, I'm in law enforcement. And the law enforcement side of me says that we need strong laws. We need laws that punish violators. We need laws that ensure that they are put away. And we need to make sure that when they come back to society, they have the skills, the training, and the knowledge to succeed. It's a revolving door. We can keep putting them away, and we can keep releasing them. But if we don't ensure they have what they need to be successful, we're going to continue to hear these stories. My prayers go out to the Gonzalez family and to anyone who has lost a loved one, whether it be to violence, drunk driving, whatever. This is something that we have to do together to resolve. Again, thank you for joining me today. And as always, look out for one another. Take care. Goodbye.